Hello, guys. Hi, I'm Carol. And guess what? I come to talk to you about my book. I come to talk to you, give you a little bit of more insight of what Carol has been doing over these past years, I must say. And I've been, gone in hibernation, and it was for a reason, to get my inner man more stronger, do a little bit more research and have my head around, some of the things that I want to do. However, this evening I want to talk to you about my new book that just came out in November called Overcoming. I'm a little bit quiet and reserved, and not really out there that much with this book because I'm being very careful, who I share my book with. People who are going through domestic violence, people who have experienced it. I've decided that these are just people I want to share with, for people who want to know more, because this whole issue of domestic violence, not everybody understand. Because to be honest, when I was going through my difficult time with domestic violence, I never know what it's called. So we might in a loving relationship, and people might present themselves as if they're overly protective, and sometimes we can misconstrue overprotectiveness, for love. And to be honest, when a man or a woman becomes so overly protective, when I said overly protective, what I mean, everywhere you go, they want to know where you go, who you're with, who you're spending your time with. They are trying to keep you away from your friends, your family. These are things that can be stated or defined as you're going through domestic violence, because that person want to keep you to themselves. They don't want you to to be exposed to other people, having friends, to be free. So they do everything to cage you in, to put you in a little box then. So I'm here to talk to you about my book, Overcoming Domestic Violence and Other Issues of Abuse. Now, when I talk about this topic, or I share this topic, is because I'm passionate about it, and I want to help others, who are struggling, who are not strong enough, who have experienced it, who are going through it, who you know, are at risk of domestic violence. I just want you to understand that if you're experiencing it, whether physical, psychological, emotionally, or mentally, find someone who you can talk to, who you can confide in, because it's a topic, when you're going through it, it makes you feel degrading, undermining, belittled, it lowers your self-esteem. You don't want to share because you don't know what people will think about you, but I just want to encourage you, it's important to share, because a lot of women or men have lost their lives, in domestic violence. So it's not a topic, to be quiet about and to keep secret and don't want to talk about it. Might as well we just, open up and just say to ourselves, you know what, this is something that we need to share. We need to talk about it. I was coming from a family, my father, my mother, especially my father was a person who talks Bible. And sad to say, domestic violence is within people of faith. People of faith practice domestic violence. Don't let nobody fool you. A lot of churches, people, pastors, church sisters, not saying the men, because let me tell you, women in it too. And when I say women, I just want to talk just briefly about this friend I had. They were a couple, so rally around me, and I tell you, I never know that that gentleman was experiencing domestic violence from his wife. And when he shared, I was so shocked, because we were friends, and the children used to come by me, they used to eat, they used to pick up my children, I used to pick up their children. When the wife, like every time when I go around them, she will always say, oh, you look beautiful, blah blah, and I was going to always comment, and or like say nice things about my what I wear. And for me, I'm just cool. One thing I'll say, a woman don't have to be scared of me when I come around her if she's married, because you know what, I respect people. I consider myself a woman of integrity. I'm not saying that men can't lie to me, but the moment you lie to me, I'm gone. I don't business what you have, whether they have money, material goods. I don't do people's relationships. I just want to make that clear, because a lot of people, they will be around people, and they feel, a little bit insecure, because people, you might present yourself different, or you might dress different, and your husband might want to compliment you, and then your friend might think, oh, your husband fancy it. I'm just one type of a woman. Listen, at this moment, I am so focused. I want to, focus on where I'm going in this. I want to encourage people. I want to empower people. I want to inspire people, because I do believe that domestic violence is wrong, and it doesn't matter how hard single parent is. I can tell you, it's better off living alone with your children than living in an environment filled with violence. Domestic violence is wrong. 100% wrong. We ought not to tolerate it, whether from a man to a woman perspective or a woman to a man perspective, children to parents. You know what? A lot of single parents today, they're encountering domestic violence from the children, and nobody no want to talk. But let me tell you something, it is real out there. I have a friend, she's a social worker. I'm not going to call any name, and I tell you, when her son, she used to share with me, and she said, you know what, you can't wait for him to turn 18. And I could hear she crying, you could hear she sobbing, and, could hear the frustration in her voice, because the child was so abusive and so challenging, and I used to say, but, you're the parent, stand your ground. And I tell you, I am a mom, and I have a son 14, and I can tell you he's not easy to grow. He's not easy to handle. So I'm not going to play no hypocrite. I chose to make my this video this evening to be transparent to parents, just to help you to understand, to let you know they are not alone. I want to set up, a support group for women, for mothers, for single mothers who are struggling with their teenage children, if to see if we can get some support, how we can support each other, in helping us to go through, the most difficult time of our lives with our children. Because even, couples, two parent, they do have issue with the children. Sorry. But when it's two, and you can manage your children, your family, but when you're alone, when you're single parents, it doesn't make sense. You feel shame. I am not going to feel no shame, because I didn't choose singleness. It happened out of circumstances, and God knows my heart. If I could stay married, or if I could have a husband around me, let me tell you something, men are important to us. Women, don't be fooled. We cannot grow children on our own. We need the men them to take full stand, full responsibility of the children of the home. When a man is present in the home can be kept in order. I'm not talking about men who are going to abuse women. I'm not talking about men who are not, pulling the weight. I'm talking about respectful men who want to be part of the family, want to be part of the children. Because you know what? A lot of women, they are withholding the children from the fathers. Mothers, stop it. I'm going to tell you, stop it. For God's sake, stop it. It's damaging children. Yeah, it's tearing the house apart. It's tearing the family apart. It's disruptive. It's confusing to the children. Children need both parents. When we can't avoid it, when we have to split, fine. But if we can do everything within our power to keep our children close to their fathers, let it happen. Because at the end of the day, you see, when these children become teenagers or adults and they're gone, listen, sometimes you walk away, leave the parents, and you leave with only yourself. So if we can do it, and do it right, stop coming between the children and the father, or the father and the mothers. Parents have to understand that when they have grievance, when they have difficulties, when they have misunderstanding, do not discuss it before the children. And to be honest, we all guilty. It doesn't make sense I do this video this evening and pretend. When we have broken relationship, sometimes when we're coming out of it, to be honest, we encounter a lot of bitterness, a lot of resentment, and sometimes we talk things in our children hearing of it is wrong. I'm just going to say it is wrong. We are not supposed to say anything bad about the father towards the children. We should let them grow up with their own belief, because at the end of the day, it's still their dad, and the men, they're still human, they have their weaknesses. And that's why I do believe, if men have weaknesses, it's best if they find some help, because we need help. Children didn't born in this world. They didn't come out of our womb with a manual how to parent them. We learn as we go along, and many of us parents, we we do make mistake. I hold up my hand and I said, I do make mistake. But you know what, with the rest of my life, I'm asking God to help me to grow my children. You know, the other two that left with me, because let me tell you, parenting not easy. Parents, sometimes we give our children, you know, the material things, and we think that, you know, it gonna do us a whole, you know, what they call it now, it does good because we're giving them the material thing. But you know what children need? Children need to be told when they are wrong. They need to be disciplined with love. I came from a regime. I came from an environment, yeah. Everybody don't know so the Caribbean culture. I'm not only saying Jamaican, because African, Caribbean, whatever, American, you know, Canadian, you know, everybody culture is different. Everybody grow their children different. But you know what? Even though my parents used to give me a good walloping, I don't hate them for the walloping they give me. What I may, you know, talk about in my book, you know, my parents, even if parents, you know, discipline their children, do it out of love or do it in love. You know, when you discipline, let them still feel that you love them. And for that reason, that is something I never experienced as a child. But as I said, who am I to hold my parents, you know, guilty or ransom? Might be they didn't even understand what they're doing, you know, because sometimes parents grow up and, you know, they start having family or start having children. They don't know nothing about parenting. And we learn. Some of us, you know, we read, you know, our parents in the 1950s, 1940s, parents, some of them never have no time to read. They didn't have time to read. So guess what? They just follow their parents. It's a tradition. Most Caribbean, African, yeah, and even Caucasian, you know, in the UK, you find parents that follow the parents' pattern. Some moving away from it, you know, because of education. When people started to, you know, educate themselves, they become more wiser. They do things differently. You know, they have more to give because they are more empowered. So I'll say that, you know, we are not to feel guilty for, you know, what we have done, you know, what we go through, you know, or, you know, the mistakes that we have made. All we have to do is to, you know, put the past behind us and just tell ourselves that, you know, it's a learning curve. It's a learning curve what we are going through. But all I can say, I believe that domestic violence is wrong. And people should not stay together because, you know, they, sorry, I'm having a little lines in my video. You know, people should not stay together just purely for the children. Don't stay together purely for children. People stay together because what? They love each other. And if you don't love each other, it's the honest truth. Might as well find another way, you know, of looking after your children, of growing them, because it doesn't make sense, you know, your children see you around them, you know, and you're fussing and fighting, living like, you know, cats and dogs. No. What message are you sending? You know, if we grow our children like that, you know, they see living in a volatile environment, a hostile environment, they too become hostile. They can't, you know, relate to each other without, you know, being angry and violent, you know, and everything ending up wrong. We are to teach our children, you know, the best way of resolving a conflict, you know, and it's not through violence. So, you know, what I'll say, you know, as I said, I strongly believe that domestic violence is wrong. And for those who out there who are doing it, you know, if you need help, there are loads of places you can get help. If you need someone to talk to, if you want to talk to me, you can just go to www.carrolrowe.co.uk, you know, and fill out that form and send it through, and how to contact. A contact form is there for you to fill out and get in touch with me. So, you know, we don't need to stay and suffer in our home, because sometimes when conflict arises, and it's because of misunderstanding. But if people are not strong enough to deal with their misunderstanding, you know, to talk it through, you know, to resolve it, you know, on their own, best if you seek help. And what I'll say, you know, the church is not talking about this, because to be honest, many times the pastors themselves doing it. If they don't want to like me, their business, because I'm not here for nobody to like me. I'm here to do what God called me to do, and God called me to expose it. Yeah, expose domestic violence. It in the church, whole lot. It in the church. Pastors are beating up on their wives. Yeah, they need to stop it. God says, pastors, love your wives as how God loved the church. So they need to stop beating up on their wives. They stop abusing the wife. Yeah. What kind of message are they preaching? Preach the word, do what the word says. What kind of Christians are we? Whatever we practice behind closed door, it's supposed to reflect in society. Society are looking up to us. We are the salts of the earth. Let us just get rid of this hypocrisy. Get rid of this hypocrisy, because it's not going to help us. So enough of them, when they see my book, they don't want to look at it because they are guilty. Because there's nothing that I talk about, I talk about school bullying. That's another issue that is destroying children. Cyberbullying. If they can't do it physically before your face to face, they go on the internet and they do it to each other. It is wrong, children. Parents need to, be open now and take responsibility for the children's behavior. When the children bullying other people's children, to let them know it is wrong. Sit your children down and ask them, would you like for somebody to be treating you the way you are treating others? Teach our children's value. Our children need to be taught values. If we don't teach our children value, who gonna teach them? Yeah? Who is gonna teach them? Our children are looking up to us. We should be example for our children. Yeah, the schools, let me tell you something, it doesn't matter what intervention principal or head teacher put in place. They're doing nothing for people's children. I've been there, I've seen it. It happened to me and it happened to my children where I had to intervene and it all get nasty. But it's not because I'm a nasty person. Let me tell you something, when your children are being hurt, as a parent, you feel it, and sometimes the best resolution not always be the right one. Sometimes, you might take an initiative to resolve the issue. And it's not because you're a bad person. I don't want nobody to tell me that I'm a bad person, because if you walk in my shoes and you experience what I have gone through, you'd have known what this woman go through. So in my book, I'm dealing with school bullying, of which it is wrong. Yeah, I don't, encourage my children to be violent. What I teach my children, listen, you report this accordingly. Yeah. And to be honest, we all have to take responsibility for ourselves. We all have to take responsibility for ourselves. So what do we have to let our children know? With all costs, try to be peaceful. Sometimes the children who are bullying other people's children, they are experiencing difficulties at home. They themselves are going through some difficulties, and they take it out on each other. And it's not because, they are wicked children. It's because they don't know better. But if the parents are the teacher, the head teacher, then many times they compromise. These schools compromise too much. They need to put in some things in place and ensure that children adhere, to these interventions, and pull the parents in it as well in order to protect other people's children. The amount of children that commit suicide because of bullying, it is horrendous. It is horrendous. We are living in a very unloving society. It's like dog eat dogs. Nobody care about each other. Nobody care about each other. Look at the young lady who killed herself the other day. Come on, who don't make mistake? Who is so pure? None of us. Every one of us that walk this earth, we do make mistake. There's none. I remember when I went through my difficulty, for many years. Let me tell you something. What Caroline Flack went through, I went through similar, because I was on Judge Rinder with that woman who stole my work. And let me tell you something, everything that you hear on it, it's not true. I have information, email addresses that woman sent me when both of us were communicating where that place concerned. So she was in it in depth, and I lived to see, Judge Rana, they published that lies. The woman stand before the court and she tell, it was an entertainment. So you know what I just said to myself, girl, if I'd caught you into the real court out there, you'd have to answer some question. Yeah. And even what that her daughter and talk about how I pursue her granddaughter for 6 months, and how victim support give them information to support their accusation against me. When I call them, they say it's a lie. They didn't give them any letter. So what I just briefly say this, because you know what, I remain silent. Nobody hear me say anything about it. Come and say, you know what, God is my only just judge. And they think, sometimes when we do people wrong, we think we get away with it. But let me tell you something. The word of God says, no sin go unpunished. But I just say this, I share this to say what Caroline Flack went through. Carrol Rowe, went through it. But all I can say, if it hasn't been for the Lord on my side, I could have killed myself too. I never forget I was starting my organization with this woman. It's a social worker. After, a little bit of misunderstanding, and she pulled herself out. You know what she turned and said to me? She said, "Oh, what Nottingham people saying about you?" And I said to myself, what Nottingham people saying about me? I haven't got no criminal conviction. I don't kill anybody. Yeah, I don't rape anybody. I don't take away anything from anybody. If people know the truth about the things that I have encountered, if people want to know the truth, meet with me, talk with me. Do not judge me. But all I have to say, bullying, domestic violence, people trying to cow down people, to silence people, and when they can't do it, they go to social media to attack you. It is wrong. Violence in any way is wrong. We need to love, care, and take care of each other. Let me tell you something. Society, YouTubers, wherever you are, you want to see this video, understand that, listen, all of us going to have to give account to how we treat mankind, whether good or evil. And one thing I have to say, I am not a perfect person. And if I've hurt you out there, come and say it to me. I am not proud. I am not too proud to say, you know what, I am sorry. I am publicly apologizing anybody who have hurt, whoever you are, wherever you are. If I've come across your pathway and I've hurt you, I am so sorry. Yeah, might be at that time because I was going through a whole lot during 2014. Those years coming down, I went through a whole lot. And I tell you, that's the reason why I stepped back with my book, because I had to rewrite that book. Because you know what? The first book that I had published, and the person that does the proofreading and editing, I realized it wasn't him that done it. I went and found this woman in St. Hans with my work on her computer. She was working it, and I was so angry and hurt to say, how could you allow my story to go into somebody's hand without even discussing it with me, that you're giving it to somebody else to proofread it for me? Yeah, I wrote my story, but with all publishers can tell you, all writers can tell you, we have to give it to be proofread and edited. So I am not feeling ashamed that people help me, with my work, because I'm a busy mother and I'm trying to do a whole lot of things, at once. So, I need help. I pay at this time, I pay professional to help me with my book. And now my book came out and it's more professional. Thank you very much for that person who started me on my journey. I don't want to be ungrateful. I am very much thankful. But all I can say, too much mouth, too much people were just saying a whole lot that wasn't true. So I said to myself, let me withdraw that book and let me come again. And it took me years. It took me 3.5 years to come out with this new book, Overcoming. I'm gonna get my book and just put it before the camera, and because guess what, I'm proud.